Now that we have power back, welcome back to some more Stormworks Build and Rescue. I'm StormRunner Gaming, and today I am here with another tutorial to show you guys how to get your first boat on the water and moving, whether that be in the simple mode in the game or the advanced mode. Of course, this tutorial having two parts. If you guys do have the simple mode down packed in the game now, you guys can skip over to the advanced mode with the timestamp I'll be dropping right above me. But for everybody that's sticking around for the simple mode, of course we're going to want to start a new game, dropping that game mode into creative, and not hitting this advanced vehicle button here. You guys can choose to put on vehicle damage, player damage, change anything else you want around here. If you do change around the island, I would just suggest something that has a workshop by the water, that you know it is there. So safe bet is that creative base, even though we do have to walk a little bit to get over there. And the first menu we are dropped into is your character customization. And I'm not going to be changing anything about my guy, so we'll just be dropping right onto this control tower. And if you didn't turn on player damage, you can jump right off and head over to the workbench over by the water here. It is a little run, but this is I believe the largest workbench we have of any size. All the other islands, most of them, have the same size here. And when we want to start our own boat, one of the tools I love using here is this X Symmetry. So if you just open this menu and click the red X there, that will just mirror from side to side. And I'm going to start building a hull. But of course, we're going to need a couple different pieces from our inventory here. We can click the inventory button down here and find whatever you need. If you want to do a more complex hull with those pyramids of different shapes and sizes to give it a sleeker look or make it faster in the water, you can do that. But for right now, I'm going to kind of just be making a more blocky hull at the end of the day, that its main purpose is just to kind of float. And of course we want a decent sized boat here, nothing too huge, because we do only have a small engine for this build. Of course you can choose to make your own with a medium engine or something even larger, but a boat of this size definitely isn't going to support a large engine. Of course we're going to have to start building down now just a little bit, making a large enough air pocket down here that will support the boat. Of course, there has been an update where you can break apart this and not have a full just air pocket at the bottom of the boat, but I don't really suggest that due to the game kind of, how do I explain it? Well, I'll show you guys in a minute after I'm done building my own hull. Alright, now that we've got a small hull done, let's make sure there are no holes on the bottom, and we'll spawn it in real quick with that spawn button. As you can see, it floats perfectly well, sitting pretty good above the water right now. Although it does tip side to side, we can fix that with a couple things here. And what I was talking about earlier with the hole on the top, originally when the game did first come out, you couldn't do anything like this, but now this is actually a possibility for the game right here. If you do want to make that rowboat type of style, you can. But why I was saying I don't really suggest it is because although the game allows this block to float here, it kind of has all the water inside of the boat, so it looks, kind of weird. I don't know, that's just my opinion on it. So I'm going to be dropping the top end back on this boat. The next thing we're going to want to do is get your engine somewhere inside of this hull. And since we are in simple mode, you don't need that much space for an engine here. We're also going to need a propeller on the back end to get us moving through the water. So wherever you want to place that, just make sure it's going to the back, as well as at least one fin rudder. I like to do two here just to make it symmetrical beside each, or not each of the propeller, beside the one propeller there. And of course we're also going to need that pilot seat on the top. I'm going to make it just built into the hull a little bit here so it's not too top heavy. Let me raise it up one more. There we go, perfect. And I'm going to close back up that hull there. And one other thing you can do, if we grab our own weight block here, we can make just a little bit of ballast, because as you saw when I jumped on earlier, it kind of shaked around a lot. A pretty simple and good way to balance out your boat is putting on this little weighted keel on the bottom end. So now that we've got all of the basics done here, we're going to have to click this logic tab up on the top here and connect a few things together. Now, of course, we're going to connect up our A and D up to both of these fin rudders for that turning control in the water. And the thing I like to do is connecting up the W and S power up to that engine to get it moving. As well, we're going to need a on-off button for our engine. You can either connect this up to the pilot seat, or we can get our own custom button here to create. If you are putting a button on here, I would suggest putting a toggle button. We're only going to need one, so I'm turning off that Symmetry Mode. So instead of just connecting it up to our pilot seat, we connect it up to that toggle button. And if you do want to rename your toggle button, clicking the select button there, we can select that block and call it engine start. Alright, now that that's all done, another thing in the simple mode, we have fluid and power as well. And to connect the power output from the engine to that propeller, all we have to do is click that engine, drag that line over to the propeller, and we should have power to everything. So now that that's all done, let's see if the boat works. Jumping on now, it's floating decently well. Might be a little bit shaky, but it is a very small boat, so even so, those weights are doing some work keeping us stable here. So instead of clicking that one button, we want to click our engine start button, and you can hear that very faint little chug of the engine starting. Our rudders are going the opposite way, so we're going to have to fix that in a second here, but I know why that happened. As you can see, now that we hit that W button, we're going to be moving forward with that engine. And if we hit the S button, it'll give us reverse as well. It's pretty simple, pretty easy to get that moving. And I know why the rudders are actually going against each other. It's because we placed them in the Symmetry Mode. So each of them are going in the opposite direction of the other one because they're mirrored. So if we take one, and if we look, there is the filled in and the non-filled in. The non-filled in is your negative direction, and your filled in is the positive direction. So we're going to make it so that both of the positives are going to our left side from where we're looking, and both of the negatives are going to the right. And of course, now that we've replaced it, we want to go back into the data and connect it back up to that A and D. So now that all is done, we should have a fully functioning boat here. Starting up the engine, now all we have to do is hit W to get moving. And we have a fully functioning boat here. If you guys' rudders do face the wrong direction, like what's happening for me right now, if I'm hitting D, I'm turning the opposite direction of where I want to, it's a pretty quick and easy fix here. All we have to do is go back in and switch which direction these are facing. So instead of the positive going to the left, we want positive going to the right this time. Let's grab two new ones. And now that we've made the positive go to the right for both sides, all I have to do is connect back up both of them. And spawning it back in, we should have a fully functioning boat now. I do apologize, I've said that a few times, but it's working perfectly now with correct steering and everything. So you're ready to take out your brand new creation out onto the ocean. And of course, you do want to save early, save often. So just in case something happens or the game crashes, your boat will be saved here. Your save button is right on the top of your screen here. And now that our boat is saved, if you ever do want to load that up, they did give us a saved vehicles thing here. So if we do want to search for it, we can just look for our simple boat and load it back in. Alright. If you guys do have any other questions for the simple mode of the game, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can if you leave your question down in those comments down below. Now we're going to have to leave this game here and restart a brand new game. So we're just going to quit without saving because I have a ton of saves already and we don't need another empty save of a world. So what we're going to be doing now is starting a brand new game. Of course, dropping it into creative, but this time when we're creating an advanced boat, we want to turn on the advanced vehicles option. So after we turn that on, make sure we've got an island with a workshop at the water, and we can confirm and start loading into that world. And just like the simple mode, we're going to want to find our very own workbench by the water here to start making our own advanced boat this time. And advanced boats, they do take a little bit more time to create and a lot more things. Of course, you're going to have to deal with things like fuel, air intake, exhaust, and plenty other fluids just like that. And for the purpose of this tutorial, yet again, we're only going to be creating a small blocky boat. But if you guys do want to use the pyramid blocks to make a sleek hull, make a faster hull, you guys can do that. Just pause this video and get back to it when you're done creating your hull here. But of course, I'm just going to make a pretty quick blocky thing here. I am going to make it a little bit bigger this time because unlike simple boats, there are a lot more mechanics that go into advanced boats here. So there's a lot more weight that's going to be going into this thing. So we're going to meant to make it at least a decent size here. Probably trim the back end off a little bit and get started creating a quick hull here. Now that we've got the boat hull done, let's start by outfitting it with a chair here. Of course, we're going to need it probably somewhere in the middle with a couple buttons to control a few things from the engine here. So I'm just going to place 2. I don't know if we're going to need all of them, but we probably will in the future. Of course, grabbing whatever engine you want to use. I'm just going to be using the small engine here, but if you guys are using a different engine, whenever I'm connecting something up, you can look at the pipe and show what needs to be connected there. So of course, air needs to come in through here, fuel from this port. I am going to be dropping this engine underneath this hull here just to make it a little bit neater, as well as saving some weight on the top end so it isn't as top heavy. Of course, for the exhaust and for the air, we're going to have both of them going to the top of the boat here. And I usually like to just make 2 holes there and put 2 blocked pipes there so it doesn't break the air pocket we have at the bottom of the boat. For the air intake, I'm going to be grabbing something that's not called air, but if you search air, you can find that fluid port there. So once we grab that, we can put that in the air intake spot. And for our exhaust, I'll just be using a fluid exhaust. Alright, the next thing we need to get in here is a tank for fuel. I'm going to be grabbing a medium tank, but you guys can use whatever you want. You can even use a custom tank of fuel if you want to use that. So now we need to put that here and connect it up to that fuel port right there. If you guys do want to start color coding some things here, we can color code the fuel in red. Know that any pipes going to and from that are for that. Of course, you can also color code the exhaust. I usually do it in gray and the air in blue. Now the final part of this, we need some way to actually cool the engine. So for a small engine just like this, we can use a fluid heat sink right here or a radiator. And we usually want to put at least a small part of water in here, so we can grab a small tank here and use that. As well, we're going to need a T-piece for the pipes here to connect that little piece up as well. Now you're going to want to create a little chain of pipes here, so connecting it up to the radiator over here. And of course, like I was talking about earlier, I'm also going to be connecting up that little tank of water to the system so that the cooling system on the boat has water moving through it. You guys can also use a system that uses two pumps that pump in and out water from the ocean to cool the engine. That's actually a better system, but it does take more power, so you're going to have to put a a generator on the output of your boat here. Now that we've got all this done, one quick thing to check: make sure your engine is pulling in diesel and this little tank for your radiator system is filled with water. Alright, now that we've got all of that done, the last part of the boat here is the output that I usually put in orange for power. The first thing you're going to want to connect is a clutch here. So now that we've got a clutch, we can connect that up to the pipeline that is output from the engine. Now that we've got that clutch in there, I also like to put in a gearbox here. So let's grab a gearbox and connect it up. And I'll be completely honest with you guys, it has been a few minutes since I've been in Stormworks, so I don't remember which way is power increase or torque increase, speed increase or torque increase. But one quick way to find that out is just dropping a gearbox in here, and once you take it out into the water, you'll kind of figure out if it goes faster or slower when you change that gear speed. Of course, we're also going to need a propeller for the backside, as well as a rudder here. So now that we've got both of those parts, we can put them on the backside of this boat. And remember, we don't want the Symmetry Mode on if you are doing two fin rudders here. Make sure you've got them both facing the same direction for this. Both of them, the negatives are going to the right, so that is perfect. And before we do get into some logic, there are one or two more things we need to add here. For advanced vehicles, we always need a battery on your boat. So we're going to add a medium battery onto here. And of course, you're going to have to start connecting up some power to everything. And you can do this by just chaining everything together from it. Or you can use some circuit breakers to have a more advanced feel to turn on and off different parts of your boat. But for the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to connect everything together. The next part of the logic, we want to start connecting up everything to turn things on. For the first thing, we're going to have a button to turn on that engine. So we're going to have a start engine button. The next thing we want to connect up is that engine throttle with that W and S button. And the one thing I like doing with this, we want to set it to sticky and call it our engine throttle. Next thing we want to connect up with this is our clutch, which I like connecting up to the up and down. Of course, if you guys do want to connect these up to different parts of the boat, we can put a throttle next to our driver and either put the clutch control or the throttle control on that. But for right now, for cleanliness and for just less blocks on the boat, I'll be connecting everything up to the logic of our driver's seat, plus those two buttons on the side. The next thing we're going to be connecting up is that gearbox. And the main reason why I've got a gearbox on here is, unlike the simple mode, we do not have a way to tell the boat to go into reverse unless we connect up a gearbox into here. And of course, that second part on the gearbox is the 1 to -1, which means we're going to be throwing it into reverse instead of forward. And the last part of this build we need to connect up is our A and D controls for that rudder. Alright, so that should be just about everything. Let's make sure the boat fires up and works properly here. So if we click if we hit our engine start and give it some throttle, sounds like she started. Now we want to turn off that engine start, because as we can see, the engine is running fine. The next thing we need to do is push that clutch in to send power out to that rudder, the propeller there. And now we have a fully working advanced boat. And if we do want to turn it into reverse, you want to turn that clutch off hit that reverse button and engage the clutch again. So now we have reverse power to the boat. And one thing I forgot to do that I like doing with smaller advanced boats, I forgot to make my clutch sticky here instead of, I guess, not sticky. So if we bring it back to the workbench and we take our select tool, go down to the up and down axis here and change that to sticky. And for the ease, if anyone else is ever using your boat or if you forget your controls, I usually like to label my controls everywhere so that I at least know what I'm doing with all of these different things. So we know engine throttle, steering, our clutch, and of course I've named these start engine and reverse. So that is a pretty simple advanced boat here. There is plenty other things you can do with this. There's a ton of different options out there, but this is just to get you guys started out on the water. I hope this helps anyone that's been having problems just getting a boat started out on the water. Of course, if you guys do have any problems, you can leave a comment down below in those comment sections. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can, or if you guys do want some more help, I've got a pretty good Stormworks Build and Rescue community in my community Discord. Just go to my YouTube page and my Discord should be there if you guys do want to join, because there are plenty of other Stormworks experts over there as well. So this is where I am going to be ending this video. Of course, if you guys did like this, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel to stay up with Stormworks and more of my content. But I've never been great. Goodbye, so people need me. And I need to go.